First Man is directed by Damien Chazelle, who also directed Whiplash and La La Land. And it tells the true story of Neil Armstrong, who was played by Ryan Gosling. And everyone knows who Neil Armstrong is. He's a legend. He was the first man on the moon. But First Man, like I said, tells a story about how he landed on the moon, but it also focuses on his life from 1961 to 1969, and it also focuses on the drama leading up to that historical event. And obviously, I was excited for this movie. I mean, it's directed by Damien Chazelle. He's one of the best filmmakers working today. He directed Whiplash and La La Land, which are phenomenal movies and some of the best of the decade. And it also stars Ryan Gosling as Neil Armstrong. How could you not be on board for this? I remember back in June when the first teaser trailer for this movie dropped, I was like, okay, this looks fantastic. It looks like an excellent portrayal of the true story of Neil Armstrong's mission on the moon. And so, now that I've finally seen First Man, here are my simplistic thoughts on it. I liked it. It's good. I liked First Man. It's a good movie. Like, I thought it was a really good movie. But I won't call it great. Unfortunately, there are some problems I had with it, but for the most part, it's a good movie. Let's start with the positives. First of all, the performances are, across the board, phenomenal. Ryan Gosling, like I said, plays Neil Armstrong, and this is hands down one of the best performances of the year, and it's definitely one of Ryan Gosling's best performances of his entire career. He did a great job being likable and sympathetic as Armstrong. And there were a few secrets about Armstrong in this movie I thought were really surprising. They weren't bad surprise, but sort of like, wow, I wasn't expecting that from him. And Claire Foy plays Janet, who is Neil Armstrong's wife in this movie, and she's fantastic. And here's a fact, if you guys didn't know. Claire Foy is actually a British actress. And it really surprised me because she had to have an American accent in this movie, obviously. But she really sold me with it. And she is phenomenal. And another thing I absolutely loved about First Man was that Chazelle actually used a handheld camera to film this movie, and I was amazed by it because it looks like a movie that came out of the time period, which was like the 1960s, and the second the movie started, it was thrilling, and whenever a lunar sequence happened, it was so intense and it was so claustrophobic, and I felt like I was in it. If First Man does get nominated for any Oscars, which I guarantee it will, it should and probably will win Best Visual Effects because these are some of the best visuals in a movie I've seen all year. Alright, let's get to the part that I really don't want to talk about, but we're going to talk about it anyway because it's a review. Let's get to the negatives. Like I said, I liked First Man. It's a good movie. But I really wanted to love it. I really did, seriously. But I just liked it. It's one of those movies that's good, but it has some major problems in it. Actually, I take that back. I won't say major problems, but definitely some noticeable problems. Like, for example, First Man does focus on Neil Armstrong's family life. When it focuses on his family life, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. It was so fascinating. It was so interesting, but it dragged the movie a little bit. There were some scenes that I thought kind of dragged for a little bit, and I was like, come on, let's pick up to the pace, movie, come on. And that will bother some people, but it didn't bother me to a point where I got frustrated over, but they could have tweaked the pacing just a little bit better. And another issue I had with First Man was, like I said, they shot this movie using a handheld camera, which, like I said, I loved. But there are some shaky cam in it. Like for example, when they're going up into space, you will see a lot of shaky cam like this, but it makes sense why, because you feel like you're in a rocket ship going really fast and you have to feel like really shaky, but that will bother some people, and I did feel kind of sick at some parts, which makes sense because I ate a lot of candy during this, but this isn't really an issue that really frustrated me, but I can see some people getting bothered by this though. Even though First Man wasn't as perfect as I wanted it to be, and even though I think Whiplash and La La Land are much better movies, in my opinion, I still really enjoyed First Man. I think it's a really good movie. I do recommend seeing it. It is one of the much better movies I've seen this year. There are some things I really enjoyed from it, like for example, the performances. It has a great story, which I think everyone should know, and the visuals are fantastic. Cinematography, beautiful. Even though First Man did some things that I think could have been done a lot better, but I still recommend First Man. If you like Damien Chazelle's other movies like Whiplash and La La Land, I still think you really enjoy it.
I give First Man a B+.
That's it for my review of First Man. And before I wrap up the video, I have a question for you guys. If you've seen First Man already, what are your thoughts on it? Whatever your thoughts are, just comment below. And if you want to see more of my videos, just be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more great content.